Hello, I'm Matt Thompson from the Rosebud PZX7 Memorial Project in Newlyn, and today we're speaking to Mr. John Dunn, who was previously a crayfish diver on the Cynthia Yvonne, which was formerly the Rosebud. For anybody watching this who isn't familiar with the Rosebud, just very briefly, it was a Newlyn herring drifter and longliner which sailed to London in 1937 with a petition asking for homes around Newlyn and Mousehole to be spared from demolition by Penzance Council. In the war, the Rosebud was requisitioned as a military service vessel, and when she came back from the war, she was bought by the Thomas family of Newlyn, and then later on she went round land to Hale, where she began the second or the last phase of her career as a crayfish diving boat. So we're going to ask John a couple of questions today about crayfish diving when it was part of the Cornish fishing industry and about his memories of being on the Cynthia Yvonne. John, perhaps you could just start with a little description of what crayfish diving was all about and how it got started and so on.
Yeah, sure. I didn't go into it till 1969 when I was 22-year-old. A friend of mine had gone down the year previous. Apparently they'd been doing it for something like 8 or 10 years before it started up down there. And basically they gradually got further and further out. And at the time I got into it, we were going about 10 mile offshore, working more or less around the 20 fathom line.
Yeah.
And there were probably, I'd guess, about 15 boats working out of Hale at the time.
Well, that's quite a big fleet then.
Yeah, it was quite a sight when you see them all going down the river in the mornings, like, on the tide going out.
Yeah.
And each one they have a boatman and 2 or 3 divers on each boat. There were various sized boats. The Cynthia was probably one of the largest. There was an ex sort of MTB type boat there at one time, where a chap called Brian Norris was running. But then they went down to all sorts of sizes. Some of them were Boston Whaler type things. Which, they relied on high speed getting out and in quick, so they were limited really to the weather conditions. The rest of us, the first couple of boats I was on, there were 4 of us. We used to rent a bungalow at the end of Mill Pond Avenue up in Hale. But my friend Frank Dorich was a chap. He went down the year before, and there was a couple of Yorkshire guys, Gibson brothers. I knew them from when they were up in Plymouth for a while. And there was the 4 of us in this bungalow, and Jim Nichol at the air station on the quay. He had a double-ender at ship's lifeboat. I think it was about 28 foot. And Frank had a 28 foot cabin cruiser called the Vandal. And, we worked those couple of boats with another Geordie guy called Cyril Bradford. It was on the double-ender. And we sort of threw the 2 boats between us. And we were a little group then. Whereas, everybody used to get on with everybody, but there was little cliques then down there.
Nice thing. Yeah.
And basically, you go out on the tide, catch your fish, and come back on the tide.
On the high tide and then back on the high tide again, yeah.
Yeah, get over the bar. And then it was a trip in the Penzance Harbour. We used to keep the store box in the harbour.
I stay right back.
You'd go down and every day you got out, we weren't getting out to sea every day. I mean, you used to average about 3 or 4 days a week on the weather, anything over a 6, it was too much. And it was a bit lumpy out there. We used to have a pit bag, ex-Navy kit bag with big holes chucked in it to let the water drain quick. And you'd stick your cray in there, but you'd have a day glow plastic hood on you on top of your wetsuit. And we used to carry 3 drain rods, meter long.
Yeah.
Drain rods with like a kind of 19-inch square day glow flag on one. So depending how lumpy it was, depending, you shove up if you had to, you join up, you had like a 9-foot pole up in the air to through the boat could pick you up, hopefully find you.
Oh, that's clever.
So
Good way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple of times young David Dixon, who was in the house with us, he got lost one day out there with him and his brother. They bought their own boat and went off on their own. And they weren't get a proper boat, and they just took a bloke off the dock for £10 a day. And sure, I think it was his first time ever going out the boat.
I say.
He ended up losing Davey. Of course, we were old when I looked at, but couldn't find it. He swam ashore at St. Ives, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
He'd been out all night.
what relatively dangerous then, the diving?
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of them lost down there. You gotta keep bands, because right at the bands, you want to follow the rules. You just couldn't. You follow the rules, you didn't hurt. It's simple like that. We were doing 3 dips a day. I had 2 twin sets and a single 72 bubble. Some of them had more air than that, they were even harder. So you hang off with a bit of decompression at the end of your dives and just hope for the best that you've got enough decompression to keep yourself out of trouble. But I remember one particular day Frank woke me up in the middle of the night and said, "I've got a bang." And we took the boat out till we got about 80, 90 foot of water. And 3 of them over the side. You spent about 3 or 4 hours decompressing on the end of the rope.
Down there.
So,
Bit off the bends as it go back down.
yeah, it's just it's a nitrogen bubble in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
So as you come up, it doesn't dissipate quick enough. It jams up.
Very painful, yeah.
So the only trick was to recompress it, squeeze it back to smaller and come up at a slower rate till it dissolves,
I say, right.
So a couple of times, they've had to take them up to the Drake Barracks in Plymouth, for the diving school there, put them in the
Well, better lunch.
But they, for the amount of times it was carrying on there, they a lot of days, and people gradually got to know, although you weren't following the rules, you got to find out what the individual could take then,
I say, yeah, that's down and see what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been, when I first went down, I suppose I've been there some 8 weeks, and the average, the guys who were already their way there, they're averaging about 10 fish a day apiece. And I was, the best I ever had was like 5. The majority of the time it was 3 or 4 if I was lucky. And I just couldn't understand why I'm not catching them. And I was on the verge of saying, well, this, I can't make a living at this, and I'm about to in.
I don't, yeah.
And then this particular day, I think I caught 10 or 11. I never looked back after that day because it's all of a sudden you're attuned to it.
Yeah.
I got in the end. The water was still clear. You could not say it was under the 20 foot of water. As soon as you're down 20 foot, you could see the bottom. It was that good out there. Um, and got to the stage where I could spot. We used to, the antenna on a crayfish, we used to call it the crackers. And the little brown and yellow, like, striping on it. If there was an inch of it sticking up the other rod, I'd spot it, But it's very well, yeah. You tune into the surroundings, you get, like, the feeling of where they're going to be from previous experience, it's one of those things, it doesn't come right away. You have to work up to it.
So they kind of go in tiny holes like lobsters do.
Yeah. The bottom, we would go out with an echo sounder, picking up like the rough ground, and most of the time it was like rock with little like gullies, maybe some 6, 7, 8 foot deep, and you just follow the gullies along. You find little, sometimes just 1 or 2, sometimes you might find 3 or 4 in a little area, and you used to wear webbers gloves, gauntlet, leather one.
Yeah.
Because you just go right in, grab between only once, right at the base of the creekers.
All right, take this one.
Just grab mode. They start swimming around, pulling you around, and you use the tail to open up your hip bag. And
Yeah.
once the bag was open, you just let the fish go and you swim right to the bottom of the bag. And they sit there quite happily, you catch as many as you could on that dive when you come up, past the tank to the pump one. And they were putting baskets with wet sacks over them. And just get on to your next dive, that's how it worked.
Yeah, still double bit of dive a day then.
Yeah, we used to go for 3 dives, 3 decks. You have to go on the tide, you go out,
Yeah.
throw a set of buffs over the side, and you'd have to wait for it to slow down. You perk like 2 of the big day group buffs, the ones about.
Yeah. The diameter. Yeah, we got one back garden somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of those with a little tail with a few like little control, the plastic tool nets. With 3 or 4 of those, so it give you a good indication of the run of the tide.
Yeah.
You throw it over with an anchor, we're looking, and if the tide's running strong, the first 2 buffs would go right under. So you'd have to wait until all the buffs were on. So you used to get about 3/4 of an hour, maybe an hour like slack water or sluggish water. So as soon as you got, started to slow down, your boatman would go up tide of the buffs, go across it, and drop the dive off somewhere 50 yards apart. So, you just go down and just gently go along with the tide, or just hold yourself again it a bit. So, not going full bore with the tide, but just covering the ground, zigzagging to and fro. Till you use your air, and then you come up and get a boat, change your set, and go into another one. But,
That's nice. And was it funny good money talking in the crayfishing good to market?
Yeah, we used to, well, sometimes we land with RVs, but he didn't pay all that well. There was a bloke, I think, might have been called it, and he used to come down from Padstow, I think. He used to come down about once every couple of weeks. And, everybody would keep their fishing Penzance Harbour until he come down and then weigh him into it. When I first went down, it was May of '69. And I think it was 15 bob a pound you were getting from then.
That's
Right. But as the summer went on, I think it went down as much as 7 to about 7 cents.
Right.
That as the summer come on and there's more on the market,
Bloody market, yeah.
it went down a bit, but lobsters were maybe a little bit less, but, getting, maybe about the same price, but you grab lobsters and you saw, but
Oh, you took it as well, yeah.
the majority of it was the goldfish, that was what you're aiming. The lobster were about, you'd like a byproduct. I say, right. And yeah, it was great. It was good like, you know, it's, well, if you like diving, you know, I mean, the diving was hobby with me to start with, you know. I always wanted to do that. I was, I was a shipwright by trade in that port dockyard. I say, right, yeah. I was waiting to get on the diving course there. And it, every time I went and put me down there, I said, well, I went to get a course. And the last time, well, Frank offered me this job down there. I went to the office and said, when will we get this diving course? And it was, well, when there's a vacancy, it's could be next week, could be next month, next year, 10 years down the road. You just don't know. So I said, well, I've got a chance to go. So there's been notice I'm up. Fair enough, yeah, that's good too. See the milk. I had the season down there, and as the season went on, it got deader and deader now, and I just couldn't handle it. So I come back to Plymouth for the winter, and I went back the next summer, but I lost the berth on, you know, the said, you know, they had to get somebody else on, and I could have gone with Boris on his boat, but I thought, well, I heard there was a salvage job going up in Plymouth, so I went back to see that, and I got on that. I had a couple of salvage work, and then I eventually got on the oil field work. You know, it's all right, but like quite a few of the daughters they're done the same. Yeah, it's all line of work. Yeah, there's you know, I've got some friends down there that Penzance. They were living in Penzance. I don't know if you ever come across any of the doggers down there. I don't think so, no. Yeah, we tend to stay in Lewis. There's a chap called Pete Walker. He lived in, at the time, I think it was Morab Terrace, was it? Beyond the... Oh, Morab Terrace, yeah. Beyond the... Is it the red line or the white line? One of the lines. Somewhere. He lived there. Another chap I worked with, well, we went out to a job in Libya. He was called Jim Brennan. He looked in, if you were coming from Mayo into Penzance, just as you started to come into Penzance, on the old road there, on the right hand side, there was some granite houses, little terrace of granite houses. He lived in one of them. But I've not seen them since the 70s. The last time I did it, Frankie Deutsch, he had out some of it, which he sold, and he bought 55 TSMY, which he was living on board in Penzance Harbour in the mid-70s. Yeah. He ended up with a local girl, she was called Eunice. I can't remember her other last name. But the last I heard, they went over to Gibraltar, took the boat was called the Sultan. And they sailed over to Gibraltar, and that was the last I heard of it. He was there on the punchline. Yeah, fair enough. Right. Did you ever come across any reports of the Simply Ron being haunted while you worked on him? Somebody told us a while ago that there was some paranormal activity on the boat, so we just wondered. No, there was no mention of anything like that at the time, but it's possible. Well, Geordie Bradford, we were when Jim Nicol first got us, he had this double-ender light bulb which thundered on out bar eventually. And that's when he bought the Cynthia. I stay right then. And there was, I think, 4 of us went on this dollars because she was big. And Geordie was one of them. And I saw him, he come up to Plymouth a couple of years after. And he was up Plymouth barbecue when I was on the boat there. That was the last time I saw it, and I heard not too long after, whether it was around 72, 73, something like that he got killed. Apparently, it's hospitalised down there. he was an experienced diver, so I don't know what went wrong. He must have been about 40ish at the time.
Yeah.
But he held his breath and bust his lungs, he got to the surface and got him on the boat.
Great.
And the guys, from this is what are coming down to the guys, he just said, oh, about it, boys, about it, but his lungs are gone, and he died there and then.
I say, very sad.
Possibly, if it's anything to do with that, I do not know, but I'm not sure whether it was a surfboard that he was on at the time when that happened.
Okay, but yeah, just an obscure thing someone told us. I did read about a boat called the Pickering, which was quite severely haunted in the 1980s, and eventually they had to get a priest in to sort of exorcise the boat. I was quite interested in little avenue of haunted boats, which I went down when I heard about the alleged haunting.
No, there was nothing ever mentioned at the time when I was involved with it. It was only about halfway through my time down there that they got the Cynthia. It was quite strange, really, like the old double ender, and that was died over. We were out one day, and we had a brilliant boat on. It was called Old Thomas. It was ex the Stevenson's trawler lad, he was about the same age as Geordie. And in fact, Geordie used to lodge with his mother on one of the little villages between Ale and Penzance.
Landwise.
Sorry?
The landwise sort of thing was the nurse.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And we were on hours of boat with him, and we were fishing. It was a lovely summer's day. We had took a friend of ours out, an old chap. He was down on holiday, and he was doing a bit of angling while we were diving. And I said, "Oh, that's right then. The prop shafts snapped on the boat." All right, we were stuck, 10 mile out, and it was, well, we'll wait till some of the other boats are on the way back, and we'll get a tow back in. So we're just bobbing around there. And I was there's this tide hadn't changed, because there was a set of boats about 100 yards away from us. Yeah. Little crabbers boats there. He said, they're not moving. And after a while, he says, I think they must be drifting with us. So we put straight for us over as we went over the side, towed the boat over the lee, and it was a drifting set of boats. I say, right. But they had, the bamboo pole with a piece of steel tube and all the buckles of weight to keep it upright. Yeah. Well, because looking at it, Alp, the Cornish fishermen genius as they are, got into this. It's not iron tight, slipped it over the busted prop shaft, found a couple of old copper nails looked around in the bilge and hammered them in, and it got it spot.
Don't be win. That is his genius.
Yeah. The second time was she was taking on that much water as when she actually found her on an old bar.
Hard work.
We didn't look back. One of the other boats come and took all our gear, and she was just abandoned there. That's when Jim pulled us at the end. Oh,
I'd say right. Yeah, it's a reputation with bars out, doesn't it?
oh yeah. Well, it's bugger when the weather was bad. But we not be sharing another time.
Why? Now, were any of the fishermen's superstitions still practiced when you were working? E.g., don't talk about rabbits, hares, don't bump into a vicar on the way down to the boat, etc.
Also with Plymouth, because very few of them on the Crayfish dive were locals.
Right, I see.
Because Plymouth boys are probably the nearest to a local.
Yeah.
My granny was Cornish, but the majority of them down there where I'm actually come down and like the dive in life. And,
Yeah, different culture.
yeah. They were from all over the country, they weren't what I call native Cornish then.
No. So not many local people took to the diving.
No, and it didn't last much longer than when I packed in. I think the year after, maybe the after that, about the end of it, because the with the puggers and that, they started getting these more filament nets, red nets, and
Yeah.
they were shooting them everywhere and catching them crying that.
Just get them tangled nets, yeah.
It more or less wiped them all out.
How it came to an end, is it?
Yeah, it's worth it about. I think some of it drifted up towards Wales way for a bit, but I don't think it lasted that much.
Yeah, someone did say to us that the Ron used to go up to Wales to work and come back sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps that was part of that migration.
Yeah, I don't know how long Jim Nichols had her for, because he had the air station and then he built tanks on AOP there.
Yeah, I think those tanks on the queue, yeah.
Yeah, so, but that was the year after. He must have done them over the winter, got the tanks. But when I was there, we had a go to Penzance every night with the catch. So
Yeah.
must have been quite a bit really for everybody, because you just come up and T-wall, chuck your bubbles in, get the air in, and chuck your fish in the tank. So
Well, yeah, quite a bit easier, I expect, wasn't it? Yeah.
it saved a couple hours a day, like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a couple of hours at the end of a long day, I expect, wasn't it?
Yeah. But it was an enjoyable day.
Yeah.
Before I could keep my stomach down.
Because it's all been yesterday.
Oh, many a time. I was a standing joke, I was stand on my gun, have a quick pause, get the load with me mouth and dive in the water quick before the next one.
Yeah, my friend took me out in the summer and I was very, very seasick once we got past Tatterdew. I started stealing my lunch when we got out by Gwinnett, so I expect I should be doing that some more in the future.
That was an eerie place, that Tatterdew.
Yeah, it is quite strange out there. We went out angling there a couple of years ago. It is quite strange there of an evening.
I only ever went there once. We were just reaching around where to try, looking at different spaces. And it's like towers of sand that are all scoured out. It's not like rock, it's sand. Mountains of sand.
Oh, well,
And the visibility wasn't very good, and it was a proper eerie place. You didn't feel comfortable there, it's creepy.
yeah, the coast is often like that round here at night. Coast or not, it's still relatively creepy here of an evening.
No, this was diving it during the day.
Oh, yeah, when you were diving down the water, I see, right.
Yeah, under the water,
Sorry, I thought you meant shore, Ainsley.
No, we thought it was, we thought we were diving off the rock, and it was like mountains of sand.
Oh, right. That is odd.
It was weird place.
That's where they found the propeller of the Solomon Ground out by Tatterdew a few years later.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where the prop ended up, all tangled up in ropes, and some divers found it.
I know there was some of the Crayfish divers at the prop of Victoria Canyon.
Oh, right.
I knew a couple of them. We went and had a look at it for 72, because we got a book sponsored us. He got a book from Flintwood called The Boy Jamie.
I say, yeah.
And we were going to use it for salvage, but he wanted us to go on one of these bloody treasure hunts over the seas to start with.
Yeah.
And I forgot what those ones. Oh yeah, that's right. So while we were down that way, we went out on Sunday to have a look on the Tory.
Yeah.
It was such a mass.
Gosh,
Mackerel. Miles that you couldn't find anywhere, and it was down like 180 foot.
Yeah.
We just didn't, bother looking too hard. You just didn't know where you were going. Like, compass, you couldn't get much sense out of it with all the metal around.
No, it's probably quite dangerous down there with all the wreckage.
Yeah, so, we scrubbed around that, but I heard some years after, some of the Crayfish boys, they got one of the props off that guy. So,
Oh, right. Well, I kept it. I was good.
oh yeah, and a bit away, like, you know.
That one to that ended up.
I don't know. Well, the Dixon brothers, well, in fact, we found the wreck, but we were, must have been about 6 or 7 mile out of St Ives, heading south west from St Ives out, I suppose, you know, that way.
Yeah.
And we were just, you know, diving there, and I started seeing a lot of pollock. Well, I was only usually, you know, didn't usually see pollocks floating around. Then all of a sudden, there was this big cross in front of me. There was a rat upside down, you know, the ass end of it. No, with the prop there on.
Yeah.
Well, yippee, you know, we went back there, swam over there, give it a climb with my knife, and it come away all black, it cloudy, so there was iron prop, you got,
Yeah.
that was the fault. But then the Dixon brothers, they found the record there, just come across it when they were crying. And that one had been a battle for power, so they sneakily went and bought it and got that for themselves.
Interesting.
But yeah, it was all sorts of going on. In fact, there was the library at chance, but Frankie Deutsch took me and showed me there was up on the wall there was like the Penzance coat of arms.
Oh, right.
And it said underneath it, Pirates of Penzance.
Yeah.
One side, it was one of the old cutthroat pirates with the dated 1760 something. And the other side of the crest was 1960 something. It was a topic. So that was your two pirates of
Right. Yeah.
they were nice to speak to you.
Yeah. Thanks very much indeed for your help.